Welcome everybody to another episode of Stay Real Podcast. It's your boy GD, and here I am today with a very special guest of mine, the one, the only, John Wayne Comunale. Woo!
Woo! Thanks, dude. It's my pleasure to
Thank you
be.
so.
Pleasure is all on this side of the screen.
No, dude, thank you so much for joining us here today. I am so happy that you were able to take the time out of your day.
Of
And
course.
so John, tell everyone um essentially the book that we're going to be reviewing today is a book that I personally bought from you. Let's give a little bit of a backstory of how we know each other. So I remember it was one of the one of the conventions that we had here in Vegas, and it was you and Scarlett that
It
had a
was it was
booth out
Fan
there.
Expo, Fan
That's
Expo
right.
at the Rio.
At the Rio.
Ooh
Yeah.
la la. Yeah, that's right. You came up to the table, we started chatting it up and stuff. And of course, we struck up a friendship. And then like you came back like the next day and shit. We still kept talking and talking. And we stepped outside a couple times for to look at the stars or what have you. Or I had to do my asthma treatment, you know that.
That part. Yeah.
Yeah, so then yeah, man, and it was good. We just kept talking and we've kept in touch. I know I'm traveling a bunch, but we keep in touch. I saw all your lady friends you sent over to greet me at Phoenix Fan Fusion
That's what's up.
as well. So yeah, man, we're just a couple of bad motherfuckers just out here fucking bumping
That,
up against each other, you know?
that's exactly it. It's great, because yeah, one thing about I loved about Fan Expo was just how like it wasn't that big of a convention, but there was a lot of big names there. But you just got the chance to like talk to everyone. So you could do like a good few laps and pretty much get it done on the first day. But it was so much fun. And then getting to know both you and Scarlett that were there, it was amazing. And yeah, I'm so glad I got the chance to like, we became really good friends, became really close, and I love that.
Yeah, I
I know you
appreciate
do
that.
music.
It's my pleasure to meet you, to have met you as well, dude. So I'm happy about it.
Absolutely, man. And I know you do music too. So your whole like name, like your ego is like your like whole name is John Wayne is dead. Is that correct?
That's like kind of well, that's the official name of the band I play in, but that's also the thing I use to it's kind of like my catch-all for all the art, writing, and music that I do. My real first name is John Wayne. Like my dad loved John Wayne, the actor, so he's like, this is gonna be our son's name. So it's like, people, sometimes I'm like, I'm John Wayne. They're like, all right, John. I'm like, no, it's John Wayne. It's like the say you just say it all together. And it's always been like my life struggle. Every like school I went to and all this kind of stuff, it was bullshit. But I was like, well, fuck it. Leaned into it like so far. So I don't know. I just had this like John Wayne is dead because people would be like, you're John Wayne, John Wayne is dead. And I just like, whatever, bitch. I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. And I don't know, I just started using it and it's I don't know. I like it.
No,
It's
dude,
got a good ring to it,
it
you
does.
know?
It does. I love it, man. It's such a great ring. It's a nice little like catch. That's like it's catchy. It's catchy, is what I want to say. Because
Didn't
yeah.
wasn't it you that came up with a riff on that when we were talking, or it was John Wayne as weed?
Oh
Didn't you come up with that?
no,
Take credit for it. I think you did. Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what?
you did.
Screw it.
Yeah,
Screw it.
that's it. Yeah,
I'll
yeah, all
take
right.
credit where
You
credit is due.
remember?
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, you
We'll
remember.
go. I'm members. You members. You members.
Hmm.
So I want to get into the one of the books that I get bought from you that day
Hmm.
at the convention. It's one of the ones I actually got the chance to read, and I loved it. Like I was fully immersed. And what was interesting about this book is that it's one of those books that you cannot put down. And I say this lightly in the sense that because the moment you do and the moment you try to pick back up where you left off, you have to go back a couple pages to get back to what you're reading.
Right.
I love that about writing. I love that when a book where at the moment you put it down, you actually have to go back a couple pages to remember what is all going on in your stories.
Right,
So
yeah.
I have the book right here.
Bam.
Boom, right here. So get a good look, guys. This is
Mage of the Hellmouth.
Mage of the Hellmouth. Now, interesting title. Let's go first into the title. give me a little bit of a backstory on how you got the name of the book.
Um, so the book, just for it centers around a tabletop RPG that comes up around the time of the first like satanic wave of satanic panic. And I forget what I was watching. I was watching I know everyone's always like, is it like from Buffy? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I wasn't super Buffy like watcher, but I guess in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, there's a Hellmouth that plays like a big part in it.
Mhm.
But that's not where I got it from. I honestly was watching some stupid ass fucking movie. Um, and they mentioned this Gate being a Hellmouth, and then I went back to like, oh, I love that movie, The Gate. That's one of my favorite. That is my all-time favorite horror movie. And then, so I don't know. I had that idea in my head of like, Hellmouth is pretty cool. If you just had, it's like basically it's a portal to hell. It's an opening to hell.
Mhm.
And then when I was like, just coming up with the name of like, what's like okay, so Dungeons and Dragons, that's the name we all know. It's
Right.
associated as just, with role
Dungeons
playing,
and
top
yeah,
tabletop RPGs,
absolutely.
that's the one, Dungeons and Dragons, right? So
Absolutely.
I was trying to think of something, and even in the book, it's talked about how it's like, it's one of these Johnny come
Tabletop, yeah.
latelys trying to like glom onto the success of Dungeons and Dragons. It's an off-brand Dungeons and Dragons. So I was like, it's got to have a name like just something like Mage of the Hellmouth. So I think I've played around with a few names and I really was stuck on Hellmouth. So I wanted to put that in there. But I also, dude, I watched like this movie last night. It's awful. It's called Mazes and Monsters. And
Oh,
have you seen it? I don't know.
I have
Don't watch
not.
it. Like, it
I
came out
have
like in
not.
82 or 83. It's a young Tom Hanks, maybe 86. And it's like these kids that are playing their role playing game, Mazes and Monsters. That's why brought it up. Like it's like this off
Mm,
brand Dungeons and Dragons.
right,
And then
right.
they try to make it real and it just, it sucks. But anyway,
Kind of like a
not
Jumanji ordeal, like Jumanji before Jumanji.
kind of, but
Uh
Jumanji is cool and this is not. This
that
is
that
just
part.
like, we tried to go in a cave. Anyway, but yeah, it was just like the title comes from, it's a game. I wanted it to have that sense of that's a game you would play. Like if you were like, "Hey, have you played Mage of the Hellmouth?" You'd be like, "Have I? I don't know. It
No.
sounds like the name of a game you would play."
More than likely, absolutely, yeah. So this book, the main character is Jake Bowman. So you have Jake Bowman, and then you have his best friend Max, um, who pretty much almost like disappears, like in like the entirety. Like you hear mention of him because he's like Jake's best friend, and then you have his sister, Max's sister Paris. Then you have the big boss, Tim, and like Elise. I love how the way you described Elise as the
The
Baroness from
Baroness.
the Baroness.
So many people like have do comment exactly on that. They're like, "I knew exactly what you meant when you
It's
said that." I was like,
exactly
and
what
I'm like, "Bitch, yeah, you were jerking off to the Baroness when you were like 9 years old too. I know. It's all right. It's okay." Like, yeah. So it's good, interesting that you
exactly.
say that. So yeah.
What was? How did you come up with the concept of like the book? Like, just like what inspired you to like to write something like this? This is definitely like an interesting write. It's definitely a lot of like twists and turns, and definitely like just all of a sudden like boom, something hits you, and you're like, what the hell just happened? So like, what inspired all of that? On like the way you wrote this.
So the like you're talking about Jake and Max,
Yeah.
the book opens up with them kind of their routine going to work, right? And they work
Mhm.
at this craft ice cream plant. And their routine is like, meeting up before work, getting high, drinking beers at lunch, and then doing this labor job. Now that was pretty much like you swap out the names, and I'll say allegedly, but that's me and my like floor manager or whatever. We would meet before like the last job I had was a labor job, and I worked making um, almond milk and cashew milk and stuff. I won't say their name because fuck them. Uh, but they suck. They're out of business anyway, so fuck it. But uh, it was a lot of work and it was very fucking crazy and taxing. But one thing that I did while I was there, even though I was working like these fucking long hours in everything is accurate. Like I talk about them working in like a refrigerated, like super cold thing. That's real. That's what we worked in,
Mhm.
these like 40-degree rooms. It also, this book is published by Grindhouse Press, who is run by C.V. Hunt, who is another author, and Carrie Nicely is her name, aka CV Hunt, but she also used to work. We've traded some stories. She worked at the a Nestle factory plant at one point. Shuts out Grindhouse Press. And so we both had like similar experiences working in these deep freeze areas, but the ones that she worked in were the super deep freezes where you had to like where I describe in the book, like you can only spend so much time in that room
Yeah.
and they have to take everything off and get out and get back in. That's real. That's 100% fucking real.
Wow.
But so anyway, I know I'm like taking the long way around
No,
the
no,
barn
no.
here, but like so all of that, I'm working this job. I'm fucking, of course it sucks. I'm doing conventions in between. I'm trying to get my shit going. And just something about escaping this uh almond plant, this factory kind of captured my imagination. And as I was working just like 12 hours a day in a freezing cold thing, I was like inventing ways to escape. And I don't know, at this point, like I said, I probably watched something that was like, oh yeah, that's fucking cool. And then I just intertwined the RPG with like trying to escape my current situation, and then you have the story born from that.
It's a very good story too, and it's funny because like now that I know a little bit more like backstory behind the whole ordeal, it kind of explains why you went with an ice cream factory all of a sudden. So like kind of still like a
Yeah.
little hint, like an homage to your previous job. Just out of curiosity, just so we do something a little personal right here, what would be your favorite flavor of ice cream?
My favorite flavor of ice cream is vanilla.
Vanilla.
Vanilla's a flavor, dude.
It,
Like,
it is a
uh,
flavor.
I'll tell you this, dude. I love vanilla or French or vanilla bean or whatever. I know you're like, what? I thought you'd say like nails in a chalkboard with fucking crusty cream. No. When I was a kid, my I I don't know. I don't actually know how she was related to me. We called her Aunt Babe. I think she was maybe my great great aunt or something. Like you kind
Yeah,
of family kind of gets mixed, especially when you're young. You're
absolutely.
like, I don't know who the fuck this is. But my Aunt Babe owned a Dairy Queen franchise. She was a franchisee of Dairy Queen. This was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we would go see Aunt Babe and every time we'd get a vanilla cone, and she would like do the dip, for us. The shit, but like even if she didn't, I fucking loved that vanilla ice cream. I didn't want I didn't want the chocolate. I want the swirl. I wanted the fucking vanilla. I don't know. It's like one of those things when you're a kid and shit imprints on your brain. Like
Absolutely.
somebody rubs their foot across your balls and all of a sudden you can't come unless you see toes when you're 19. It's like one of those things. So, that's why I like vanilla ice cream.
That's so funny, dude. That's great. Um, so I know that you mentioned you mentioned that a lot of this had to do this was personal. Some of the things that are related to the book, it's kind of related personal.
Uh,
So what was the job, or can you tell us of the location where you felt that you were kind of like transferred to, or it felt like you just like felt like the way Jake did, where he just felt uncomfortable in his new settings?
well, so we had this facility and to describe it like so it's in like this this part of town where there's all these manufacturing facilities or production facilities, right? And
Mhm.
like a lot of these things, they're like just these big kind of almost warehouse things, and they're then rented out by a business who builds out all inside so that they can make XYZ. So for example, when I started, we were in this 3 or 4 compartment like section of this building, and it was us, and they built it all out with the freezers and fridges next to it. And then next to us that was built out, it was like they made what are those fucking cookies that people eat that are all fucking bougie and shit?
Oh,
Macaroons.
the
So it's a
macaroons.
macaroon place. So that was built out to do that. And then next to that, it was something built out like one of those like meal delivery services. And so it was like that's like the kind of vibe, right? And so we started at this one end and we had very limited stuff. Shit would break all the time. There was like four of us on a team. Then they expanded very quickly and we're like, oh shit, we gotta fucking get a bunch more stuff going on and more crews and stuff. And they like grew, worked us to death, bought like part of the other side, built a bigger facility just for us to fucking go kill ourselves in. And so that was like the transfer. It's like you're not really like in the book he's just transferred to this other facility, but it's not any better. It's worse, But
Right.
now it's like everything is coming apart. Of course, when he gets to the new one, the wheels start really coming off. But
Yep.
uh, you know,
No,
sorry, I was talking,
no, dude,
talking.
love it, love it. I love it. Um, Kind of going into it. So, do you think there will ever be a continuation from the book? I know on the way, without spoiling too much, the way that the way it ends, it's very like unknown. Like it's like wow, like I did not see that coming. Would you want to like? Do you feel like there could be a possible continuation of of the book from the way it ended, or do you feel like there could be a possible change of the outcome?
Okay, what are you asking? Like, would I rewrite the ending or would there
Would
be a
you
sequel?
would yeah if would you rewrite the ending to have a continuation, or would you just feel like you could continue off of this book alone?
Oh, so Um, I do think about this kind of stuff a lot. First of all, like anybody listening, my books, like always, I don't, if you're like, oh man, I really want to feel good about shit, like, sorry, my books do not have a happy ending. They're just always kind of like, what the fuck? And that's fine because that's kind of how life is, and that's the way I
Mm-hmm.
approach my art. But of course, made like, if you were like, hey man, what would be a sequel to Mage of the Hellmouth? We'd start spitballing, of course it could have a sequel because we would be like, what happens at the end just stands. And then we're like, prologue, fucking whatever year it is, Johnny come Johnny finds this fucking copy of, Mage of the Hellmouth because he's looking through his Grampy's RPG games and he's a nerd too. And he's into, and then like we reintroduce the game and then it opens up the Hellmouth again. Like you could totally do
Absolutely.
something, do a sequel to it. Um, but that's just I don't know. That's just spitballing and talking. I don't have any current plans to write a sequel to it, but there's always possibilities.
Now, because of the fact you mentioned that this is kind of like a tabletop like RPG kind of board game ordeal, like that's at least in the book. So in the book,
Mhm.
this Mage of Hellmouth is a tabletop RPG game, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. Did you have your own like board game that you enjoyed playing as a kid, or even today?
So I have a tumultuous relationship with games throughout my life, I think. Mm. While this is based on this tabletop RPG, I was very much forbidden to play any kind of game like this or resembling any game like this as a child. My mom's been on the show. My mom's my biggest fan. We've all changed, but at that time she was very like, it was a very fundamental Christian thing. And during this time, I mean, I'm a little older than you. It was the Satanic Panic. It was like, we were staying with my aunt and uncle, and my cousins had like D&D and they had all their little figures, and I was like playing with them because I thought they were fucking cool. They're like werewolves and fucking shit. My mom's like, what? Like, like fucking slap it out. So it was like, but it's also the age old tale of like, tell me I can't do it, then of course I'm going to be way more interested
Mhm.
in it. So I wasn't allowed. I was always on the periphery. I was always kind of reading about it, looking at it, that kind of thing until I was a little bit older and I could dabble in it myself. But then as I got to where I was like, well, now I'm trying to, do this music and art and stuff. I'm like, I can't play games. Games are time. I can't just waste my time. Blah, 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 blah. Because I'm super obsessed with time. But
Mhm.
I also had to like over some, years and all, and then the years of therapy, be like, well, you are going to kill yourself. You realize that. So I have to kind of find ways to. I've found ways to kind of like, all right, pump the brakes. Let me relax. Let me disengage. And how
Mhm.
I have done that. is with games. And more like I guess more specifically my Nintendo Switch I use, but it's I like to play games on that only because I travel all the time and I have it and I can dock it in a hotel room if I want, or I can just fucking play it. But I really got into these because there's so many fucking games that you can download, right? Like,
Mm.
but I really started getting into these. I found these like, and some people might be like, that's just shovelware bullshit. I don't fucking care. It is like it's text-based RPG like where will you go? Will you fight this person? Will you go to this dungeon? And I fucking love it, dude. I just love like to sit there, just unplug, and I'm like, yep. Oh man. And then I'm like, I'm gonna buy an elf so I can be like better next time. You're like trying to do that. So it's like a kind of like a full like about face on games for me because or like I love baseball, so I'll play like baseball and shit. But and then last night on my story, which I got a lot of comments on my Instagram story because I was like playing Ghosts and Goblins, the re fucking whatever. And
The
that game,
remastered, yeah.
yeah. That game is just notoriously known for being so fucking hard. And I just like put a little video of me playing and saying this game is so fucking hard. Because it's so hard, but it's like it just teases you to like this game. And then it's like, but you can play again. It's like endless continues. Like,
It's
all right,
kind of
one more
kind of like
time.
the way Mage of Hellmouth is in the
Yeah.
in the book. It's like one of those games where it's like, damn it, it's so hard, but they finally they keep going until finally it's like, oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, you always have that person driven to like, we have to
Have to
beat,
do
we
this.
have to 100% this shit, and I'm gonna drag you guys through it, even though like someone like me would be like, nah, fuck it, man, let's like skip all these side quests and like,
Just go straight
gonna,
for
hey man,
it.
24%, we still finger bang the princess, and we're home by brunch. It's fine, dude.
That's so funny, dude. Oh man, yeah. I have some friends that are like, whenever they play video games, it's like we have to 100, like they have to 100% it. I try it, and like the max amount I get is like 96% or something. There's like maybe one or two like trophies for like my PlayStation that I can't get on a certain game. So I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I passed it. Whatever. On to the next.
Yeah, it's different for like I try to do good at the games I play, but I'm not really that great. But also like it's a different kind of release for me. I'm not necessarily trying to be. I want to be good, Danny. I want to be so good at these games, but I'm just not. But it still helps me to like disengage a lot. Like you have to slow your mind down. You have to like stop thinking about stuff sometimes. So that
Absolutely.
that's like reignited my game kind of life.
Absolutely. Now, if somehow, some way, let's say someone from like a production studio or whatever decided to come up to you and was like, Mage of Hellmouth, I want to make this into like a short film, kind of like some like Tales from the Crypt type of style.
Yeah.
Who would you want to play each of the main characters? Like, which actors would you want?
Oh man, that's tough because while I could definitely see this boil down to a Tales from the Crypt-ish type episode because I don't know if we talk like that's my bread and that's where I cut my teeth on those anthology
Mm-hmm.
series, Tales from the Crypt, Amazing Stories, Outer Limits, and then of course like I mean Twilight Zone, but then of course like these Tales from the Crypt, like I'm right now like I'm Scarlett and I are watching the entire series because I have the DVD set, and I was like, we're gonna just start watching all of these, and they're so amazing
Okay.
because, and another thing like that relates to the question is, these episodes have like these awesome actors that are like super famous, and then
Yeah.
you're like, what the fuck? Like this is 1992, and they're like. Hey, and another no show notorious for that as well was Freddy's Nightmares. Like
Mm-hmm.
and for people who don't know that, like Freddy Krueger had this anthology series in the 80s as well. That was like the Twilight Zone thing, and like Brad Pitt was in like it had a fucking I just say I'm gonna just like say fucking wrong names. I'm gonna be lying, but like just so it makes sense like to think I do like think about that kind of thing. So who would play Jake and who would play Max? So I can like you're talking about any like I don't have to be like age appropriate kid actors or like
Nope.
mid-aged man actors today. I can't.
Nope. Just anyone.
So Jake, let's let's put Ethan Hawke in there, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I
And
definitely got that vibe, honestly.
let's put an Ethan Hawke in there. And then Max, who is more of a cleaner cut, military-ish kind of.
Ooh,
I don't know actors as well as I should. Uh,
that's a load of, I mean, technically, like Adam Driver, if you like, if he can shave and like he's like got that military background on him.
you know what? You could throw one of the Skarsgårds in there. You know, one
Okay.
of them. Just
Yeah,
pick
one of them.
one, have him cut his hair, and
Bada bing, bada
kind of be
boom.
the more straight man ish that's based on like Max character is based on a good buddy of mine, Oscar, who he knows is like shouts out dude. He's also a veteran and stuff like that, but he's an awesome fucking dude. So that was the contrast between us, so I would say
Gotcha.
like that. But also, oh, he was Mexican. Maybe I should like think about casting accordingly. I
I
don't know.
said you
now I
didn't
have to
have to. I said you didn't
rethink.
have to worry about
I
that.
know, but it's like, man. But yeah, that something like that. At least the contrasting personalities. You know what?
Michael
We'll
Pena.
put
That's what I'm thinking of. Michael Pena. If you're looking for
there
more
you go. Okay, so okay, boom.
military
So
clean cloth, yeah, dude, really good
we'll
actor.
we'll put out a few feelers. We'll see who, bites. We'll be like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
did you know Channing Tatum was attached? We won't even talk to him, but that's what we'll tell people. And yeah, so there we
exactly.
go.
You know, it's funny because it's like when I read the book and when you describe Tim, the new boss, I thought immediately Ron Perlman. I don't know why, but
That
Ron
would be a
Perlman.
great fucking represent. Yes, that he could absolutely play that character. Um,
Absolutely.
that's just an amalgamation of those bosses that I just fucking hated so fucking much working
Dude,
that
yes.
job. I just put them all together and like this evil person named Tim, and like that was it.
That was it. So other than Mage of Hellmouth, you also have a couple other books that I have. One's called Death Packs and Left Hand Paths, and the other one's
See,
called The Cadillac Man. What are
yes,
some other works that you have going on right now?
my friend, I have so many books out since then. But right now, like so. My latest book that came out was Toured to Death.
Mhm.
And that one is sorry, I just took a sip of beer. So I'm on tour all the time,
Absolutely.
going I do all these horror conventions. I tour with my band. And so I was kind of inspired. I was inspired by that. But I sat down and I took things that happen to you on tour all the time, like dealing with managers, green rooms, bands, girls, drugs, fuck, all this kind of stuff. And I spun them out into these stories that get, kind of wild, right? So we follow this artist who's on tour by himself, and he's going from date to date, and each chapter is a different date on this tour and what happens to him that night. And each story has a nugget of truth in it, but that's for you to decide what is the truth
Absolutely.
in those. But also, like, I just put out the second edition of my book, Electric City's Neon Infection, which takes place in Las Vegas. It was originally published by Thunderstorm Books, and they do limited release. They did 46 hardbacks and 222 paperbacks, and then I got the rights back, and I did different cover art and different interior layout. So that one just came out as well. And man, what else came out before that? My Western came out, Splatter Western. All
Yeah.
of your dreams will come true when you're dead. Um, that's a series that the publisher put out, and I, explain to people it's not like a series that's contingent upon like this one, this one, this one. They're all separate. And each author is giving their here's my horror Western, and then I took the cosmic approach to mine, um, where this entity named Lycus has been banished from the void. So he very badly wants back in. He finds himself in the 1800s in Texas, and he starts his own town called Cositus. And he starts to bring all the gunfighters to his town. so that he can fight his way back into the void.
Nice, nice, dude. Now, the final question, because we got to wrap this up a little bit here,
Yes,
but
sir.
any words of inspiration that you could give to inspiring writers? As you know, I myself, when we spoke, when we
Absolutely.
first met, I've been writing, and I've still been writing a lot. Love Thy Exorcist.
Hmm.
But for all those others that are wanting to write or wanting to get their own book out there, what are some inspiring words that you can give them?
So, you know, take anything I say with a grain of salt, or just like, hey, this is just some asshole saying something. All I can do is say like what has worked for me and in part the best way I can. So
Mhm.
just say that up front. The number one thing that I can say, that I try to tell people, is just don't quit. That's, you just can't quit. You want to be a writer, you want to put a book out. Okay, well, that's work. And it's not easy, or everybody would do it. So that's what happens. People quit, it's because it's hard, or because it doesn't happen right away. This is not an instant gratification thing. Um, and you know what? Like, it's like kind of learning to play an instrument. It's incremental. You have to work on your craft daily. Set aside some time, even if you only can write a paragraph or a sentence, or this day you can bang out 10 pages. Great. You're still working on your craft. You have to, in my opinion, commit yourself to it, because like, sometimes like you're not, maybe you're not just as good as you think you are right away. I sure shit wasn't. And you just have to fucking woodshed it out, and woodshed is a guitar term when you're like practice woodshedding.
Yeah, yeah,
You have to do that. And that, uh, you know, maybe like saying like, well, not my stuff is just fucking great. Well, maybe it's fucking not. But the thing is that you had to write that and get that out in order to get to the good stuff, that, or get to the next part.
yeah.
It's like playing an instrument, like I used to fucking suck at certain things on guitar, certain runs and stuff like that, trying to kid myself I was good, or fucking trying to hide behind distortion or whatever. But at the end of the day, I just wasn't good enough until I fucking practiced and then got up to that. And that's how I look at writing. It is like your craft. Just don't give up and dedicate yourself to it. That's like the best advice I think I can give. And then be open to like knowing that, also when you submit things, like, just you have like, this is a callus to build up. It's easier said than done, but you cannot take it personally. You cannot take rejection personally. Rejection happens, right? It just
Yeah.
happens. And you can't look at it like they think you're bad or you're not good enough. It's just not for them. That's just not what that particular uh
Publisher company. Yeah.
publisher or whatever magazine was looking for. And that's what you have to do. And you have to move forward. And if a publisher sends you back like, hey, this was great, here's some things to work on, take that to heart, because they don't do that for it's not like all 4,000 people that submitted are getting like a, you know what you should do, work on your fucking this. No, take that to heart. Don't be like, you know what, fuck you back, because that's, some people do, and it's stupid. you know um be humble, take the advice from people, like take advice from editors, take it with a grain of salt, but like, just build up that callus, don't take it personally, and don't quit, and don't let that shit poison your thoughts where you're like, well, I guess I'm not good enough, I'm gonna quit anyway. These are the things that I think are the hugest challenges, not just in this part of the arts, but in a lot of parts of the arts. So, um I don't know, I hope I did I
No,
answer the
that
question?
answers it perfectly. Well, John, I want to thank you again for being part of this podcast and reviewing this book. All in all, like I said, I enjoyed it very much, and I
Thanks,
love to
sir.
read it. Um, if I were to give it a rating, I would definitely give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Nice.
The point five, I mean, there are just I feel like there should have been more, and I want more. I crave more from this
Okay,
book,
okay. I appreciate
and
you.
so I highly recommend for all of you guys that are interested, go ahead and check out John Wayne at his Instagram handle. It's John Wayne is dead,
At
correct?
John Wayne is dead, yes, sir.
And
Are you good?
then
You
You
can go
can
to
go to.
you can go to johnwayneisdead.com and all my shit is right there. All my dates, my shop, my videos, sexy and otherwise, all right there for you, baby.
And so make sure you hit him up. Go ahead and check it out. Go to his website, get the book, give it a read. It's such a good read, and it's one of those books that you just cannot put down, or you'll end up missing something. So thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you,
Oh yeah.
John, for being here. As
Thank you, dude,
always,
for having me. I
folks,
appreciate you, dude.
stay real, be safe, and above all, be kind. Take
Hell
care.
yeah.